All right, preseason action is going to start right now. But here's actually is Johnny Gaudreau, who is sadly passed away because he kills tragically because his sisters Gaudreau in jerseys. We love you, Johnny Gaudreau, bro. We call him Johnny Gaudreau. Here's the national anthem.
Our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Now, tonight's exclusive.
Before we face off, here's our broadcaster for tonight's game, Jack Michaels and Bob Stauffer.
Called by the voices who know the game inside and out.
This crowd explodes!
Bob Stauffer and Jack Michaels on the Oilers Radio Network.
Less than 90 days have elapsed since the Edmonton Oilers climbed off their plane from Florida in defeat after a Game 7 loss to the Panthers by a score of 2-1. Now a new season upon us. Preseason game number 1 with decidedly different lineups. But 24-25 has arrived, and it's next. Live from Rogers Place alongside Bob Stauffer, I'm Jack Michaels from our Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth. We've got Coventry Homes starting lineups for you. It'll be James Hamblin in the middle, Matt Savoy on the right side, and Vasily Podkolzin on the left. We are underway with Winnipeg controlling the opening draw. The Jets preseason roster, like the Oilers, pretty light on players expected to be NHL regulars. Ty Emberson and Travis Dermott on defense for Edmonton, and it's a blast from Logan Stanley that finds its way through 17 seconds into the hockey game. It did not appear as though Edmonton starter Olivier Rodrigue had a clean look.
Well, I got a little bit of a flyby in front of the net, and I may have been just making a guess here. May have been David Gustafsson on the deflection of the shot as he was being tied up. Puck came back to the left point. Stanley got a lot on it, and it's going to be Gustafsson's goal. There's nothing that Rodrigue can do on that. Just a real good deflection.
Off his midsection, I'm not sure, Bob, there was a whole lot of intent there. As you said, a drive-by by Gustafsson. It deflects past Olivier Rodrigue, and 17 seconds in, David Gustafsson, who went 4 years between NHL goals, puts the Jets on the board. Now Stanley off another Oiler turnover with a quick feed across to Kevin He, but his shot was stymied, and now digging it out of the corner, the Oilers' first-round pick from this summer, Sam O'Reilly, played up the left-hand side by Ben Gleason, who had a good camp last year, and retrieved by He at his own blue line for the Winnipeg Jets. Traveling right to left, they're on the white outline in blue. The Oilers in their home blue sweaters with orange and white trim. Noah Philp took a year off from pro hockey after a very promising first year in Bakersfield, where he finished with 19 goals. Tied for third on the club. The Oilers bottled in after a Winnipeg dump-in. It's laid off the boards and out, and on the attack and offside, Noah Philp. Mike Hoffman here on a PTO was guilty of an offside, and Hoffman, who will turn 35 in November, Bob, looking to, if not crack the Edmonton roster, at least attract some attention from around the league. He was a guy for 6 straight years. You could look at his goal-scoring total and know he's somewhere between 25 and 30.
Yeah, absolutely. At a career high 36 1 year. He's always been a finisher. He's a great one-timer of the puck.
Twice 29. Emberson off the draw in the neutral zone, and it's spilled in by the Oilers. And the Laguna Beach product, James Stefan, pursues up the right-hand side. Eventually cleared, however, by Kieran Walton of Winnipeg. And now Rasmus Kupari, one of the players involved in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, will dish off left-hand side.
That was a good trade for Winnipeg. Not so good for L.A.
Anhorn coughed it up. Pierre-Luc Dubois, though, has been since moved by the Kings. They did a good job getting him out of there, in my opinion, Bob.
Yes.
Offloading him to Washington and getting back a reasonable guy with an L.A. history in the process, and goaltender Darcy Kemper, who did not have his best stuff in the U.S. Capitol. Meanwhile, the Oilers in their own zone, a quick dish ahead, and Cam Wright burst down the middle, poke checked away by the 6'7" Stanley, whose shot deflected in by Gustafsson 17 seconds in, and Winnipeg with a 1-0 lead. Up the right-hand side, Zhilkin, and Ben King defended by Ben Gleason. Danny Zhilkin back to the point for Stanley. Across to Dylan Coghlan. His shot deflected wide. Coghlan has spent some time with some winning organizations during his time in the NHL, Vegas and Carolina. Up the left-hand side, Daniel Torgerson, and shoveled in deep once again by Stanley. Cam Dineen up the left-hand side for Edmonton. A breakout for the Oilers to center. Talked about your starting lineup, once again brought to you this season by Coventry Homes. Fired across by James Hamblin, now wearing 52. Here's a shot from the point by Connor Carrick, who played several years in the NHL with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that deflected off the glass and out of play. 3 minutes gone by in the first period. So you talked about the makeup of the rosters tonight. Bob, I mean, Edmonton probably has 3 guys that you can count on as being Oiler regulars this year. I'm not sure Winnipeg has any. Not one in their lineup, including goaltender Eric Comrie, who's competing for the backup job with Capo Kakkonen. So I ask you then, what's on the line here for both clubs?
I think Logan Stanley, as you know, will be probably with the Jets, but he constantly got
I'm talking about opening line lineup.
Yep, when the two teams meet again. It's about opportunity getting your, there's some debate on the right side. Where's Emberson going to play? Josh Brown, who gets the upper hand there. And a bit of a wild card and 4th line right center for Edmonton as well.
And the Jets have 5 or 6 guys who, as you mentioned, may make the roster, but no guarantee they're in the lineup. Here's O'Reilly down the middle, and he scores with a wrist shot, beating Eric Comrie. And the Oilers have tied it up in the 32nd overall pick. As his first as an Oiler, finding room down the seam and then beating Eric Comrie cleanly. 1-1.
Well, one of the issues that Edmonton had in Penticton is they didn't have defense that could get the puck up the ice. And there's a great stretch pass that hit O'Reilly and created the time and space, and away he went. And O'Reilly shifted from his backhand and quickly stuck. He's a right shot and got a good shot on net. This is a guy that could have a big year with the London Knights this year, but what a start for him after, frankly, a quiet time in Penticton.
I think that was Cam Dineen on the stretch play, Bob.
Yeah.
And the Oilers have tied the game. And you were talking about the Oilers. They may not have some headline grabbers on defense this year, but there's a lot of depth.
They got a lot
that's
of depth.
not just, that's more so Edmonton Bakersfield in terms of if there's injuries, you've got guys who played NHL games that could come up. Jets on the move off the draw. Dominic Toninato, who's bounced back and forth from the Jets to the Manitoba Moose the last couple of seasons. Worked in deep, and the Jets will control in their own zone. Coghlan up the middle. That one off a stick, retrieved by Ben Gleason. Give Carrick a second assist on the scoring play. Sam O'Reilly, his first in Oilers Silks. As Bob mentioned, coming off his first full season in the Ontario Hockey League with the London Knights, where he was a teammate of William Nickel, who tonight dresses for the Oilers on their 4th line. A dump in by the Jets, a clear by Josh Brown up the right-hand side. Backtracking is Kupari. He'll lay it cross ice. That turns into a giveaway. Kupari then steps up, held in by James Hamblin in the offensive zone for Edmonton. The Oilers working left to right in this first period of play. 2 goals in the first 3.5 minutes, 1 for each side. Here's a backhander that's blocked out to Connor Carrick, and his shot from distance was deflected. But Colson on it for Edmonton. And now a shot by Dineen does not make its way through. But Colson snatches the deflection. Hamblin lets it drift back to the point. Carrick loading up, doesn't shoot. Got it back on a deflected pass, then tried to go short side. And that was intercepted and cleared by Kieran Walton of Winnipeg. Dineen for the Oilers. Connor Carrick drifts in right-hand side. Now lets fly, and a save made by Comrie, whose best game ever in the NHL was in this building when he stopped 46 shots as a Buffalo Sabre a couple of falls ago. But he just did not have it at the National Hockey League level last year for Buffalo, and they needed him. And he just had an off year, 2-7, .874 save percentage, and now he and Kakinen will compete for the backup draw. And, Bob, as you know, Kakinen's coming off a tough year as well, and he gave up 5 goals last night in Winnipeg's opening preseason loss to Minnesota.
Well, they got a pretty good starter in Winnipeg, John.
Connor Hellebuck. Well, we'll talk more about him in a second. Emerson lets a shot fly. That's deflected. But Colson behind the net. He'll shovel it out to the point, and Travis Dermott lays it down low for James Hamblin, pinned against the boards. And now on that retrieval is Matt Savoy. Acquired, heeled one wide. It went right to an open man, and then in turn, shot deflected. Emberson had a look, and Comrie flicked it away. On the puck for Winnipeg, controlling is Ashton Sautner. Won a Memorial Cup with the Edmonton Oil Kings a decade ago. Jets trying to peel it off the end boards. We played 6 1/4 in this first period. Bob, one of the things Winnipeg would love to do is get Hellebuck more of a breather as that puck pinned along the boards. He's had 2 rough postseasons in a row, losing 8 of 10 in their last 2 first-round losses while playing to a save percentage of .875. With the puck pinned along the Dashers, it allows us to take a timeout. 13:41 to go in the first period. Gustafson have scored for Winnipeg. O'Reilly for Edmonton. We are tied in the preseason opener. The Oilers Radio Network.
Looking for
Face-off coming right side of Eric Comrie. Edmonton 1, Winnipeg 1. First preseason game for the Oilers, and they'll be back in action tomorrow night, a 7 o'clock start against the Calgary Flames, and we're expecting much more of an NHL look to that Oiler lineup. Cam Moon will have the call. So the Oilers open the preseason with back-to-back contests at home. Off the draw, it's flipped in and kicked to the corner by Oilers starter Olivier Rodrigue. Last 4 years, battle-tested in Bakersfield, and makes a good save short side on Axel Janssen-Fjallby, who had snuck to the middle. Janssen-Fjallby a couple years ago had an impact for the Jets. Last year was more of a half-and-half split between Winnipeg and the American Hockey League. Bob, defense.
Yeah.
What do you see for Edmonton?
Wow.
More, I would say, 4 through, let's say, 9.
Yeah, Ty Emerson's got his nose ahead of everybody else for the 4. Obviously, Kulak will be the 5 and left shot. And right now, Josh Brown looks like, he's there as a 6 and Stetcher at 7. But they got 3 or 4 other players that are trying to get themselves in the mix.
Shoveled in deep by Kevin He for Winnipeg, and now a shot from the point was blocked and actually snapped the stick. Man who took the shot was Dylan Anhorn. Stefan with no stick right now for the Edmonton Oilers, and with no stick he can't clear it for the left half board, so Parker Ford lays it back to Anhorn, cross ice back to Ford, and it took a hop on him. Loose puck in the corner. Noah Philp squirts free right in front of the Oiler net. Ben Gleason is there to gather. Then he battled that broken stick on the ice, had to twirl it back to the other side, and Josh Brown wastes no time in clearing down the right-hand side. Brown, nearly a decade ago, captained the Oshawa Generals to a Memorial Cup at the expense of Oiler head coach Chris Knobloch and the Erie Otters along the way. Of course, Connor McDavid on that team. Here's a steal by Cam Wright for Edmonton, and they'll go to work in the attacking zone. Wright, good play up the wall. Across to Carrick from Dineen. Carrick slide step to his left. Beautiful play, then tried to get a little too cute and had it picked off. He was trying to hit Dineen, and Kevin He will bring it up the left-hand side for Winnipeg. His shot blocked. Quickly swept out by William Nickel. and bounced in deep by Wright. Nickel was the Oilers' 7th-round pick this summer, and he plays with O'Reilly in London.
And he can skate.
From center ice, shot in by Jared Anderson Dolan, who had a long trial with the LA Kings that did not pan out, and now it's covered once more by Rodrigue. 8.5 gone by first period. We're tied at 1. Gustafson for Winnipeg and Sam O'Reilly for Edmonton.
So, Jack, I think Emerson's in the 4-hole, second pairing right shot D. I think that Brown's third pairing right shot D.
That's at the start of camp.
That's the start of camp. Stetcher at 7. But Gleason, along with Dineen and Carrick, I mean, that's 8, 9, and 10 in the organization, and I don't think we should forget about Philip Kemp either. So the Oilers have got some options, maybe further down than they used to have depth-wise on defense.
Is it possible there's significant movement there in the 4 through 9 based on camp?
Could be. Could also be an addition at some point, too, as the organization accrues a little cap space during the year.
Off a dump in, Ben King will try to clear for Winnipeg. The Oilers will reset at center ice. Moving left to right, here's Matt Savoy, drafted 8th overall by Buffalo. His shot flicked aside by the ex-Sabre Comrie. And the rebound put Colson, nifty play to the middle, off a stick out to Brown. His shot pinballed around and eventually cleared up the left-hand side by Zhilkin. And King will work it up the left-hand boards as both teams make wholesale changes in personnel. Gleason across. Brown, a sharp-looking feed. Left-hand side for Drake Caggiula. As Bob mentioned, another injury last year, and that's been Caggiula's story. Shoveled in front. Caggiula working hard in front of the net. Battled and finally eluded O'Reilly. Trickles to the right-hand corner. O'Reilly back on it. Caggiula once again in the mix. Never a guy afraid, despite limited stature, to get to the front of the net. Here's Carrick with a steal, and now Caggiula breaks loose, shoots, and a glove save made by Comrie, who came out to cut off the angle and makes his best stop of the night with 10:17 to go in the first period. And Caggiula, a determined-looking shift.
Yeah, he broke a wrist last year to close out his season, was relatively productive at the AHL level. As you recall, Jack, Caggiula went down fairly early in training camp last year. This is his second tour of duty with the Oilers organization.
Best year with the Oilers, best year in the NHL was 13 goals, but that was in the Star-Crossed 17-18 campaign, a disappointing year for almost everyone else in the organization. And then Caggiula just had problems staying healthy, both here and then in Chicago. Connor Carrick, right-hand side. Stefan will shovel it down low. That's going to be picked up, gathered, and quickly cleared by Coghlan. Big hit on that far side. A couple of years ago, James Stefan, Bob, became the 20th player in the history of the Western Hockey League to be born in the U.S. and score 100 points in the season. Center ice, fired in by Sautner, who's carved out a nice decade-long career in the American Hockey League. Jaden Grube, solid player down on the farm last year. Cam Wright will chip in charge. Nickel in hot pursuit of that puck. Sautner will lay it off. Salamonson with a clear for Winnipeg back to center. Second-round pick a couple of years ago for the Jets.
They like him.
They've got 3 of their picks from this summer, rounds 4, 5, and 6, dressed in the lineup for tonight's game. After losing at home last night to Minnesota 5-2, mentioned Kakinen started. He and Comrie competing for the backup job, and Kakinen, of course, an ex-Minnesota goaltender. Up the right-hand side, Rasmus Kupari for Winnipeg. He'll turn it over, streaking toward the middle, controlling the puck and dishing off. Matt Savoy from Hamlin, tried to give it back to James Hamlin, and that was off the mark. Kupari will leave it for Logan Stanley, who for whatever reason seems to dress a lot against Edmonton. As Bob mentioned, he was a healthy scratch for more than 50 games last year, but
I think he'd like a change of scenery at some point, Jack.
up the left-hand side. Here's a clear wrist shot coming and a save made by Comrie, and a good one as he came out to take one away from Drake Caggiula, who's had a couple of good looks, one from each wing, and Comrie has stopped him twice. This time, Caggiula let the wrister fly, trying to get it over the right pad, but Comrie closes the door and keeps the game tied at 1. 8:07 to play, first period. This is the preseason opener live from Rogers Place, the Oilers Radio Network. Oilers have outshot the Jets 5-2, shrugging off an early goal credited to David Gustafson on a deflection. Off the face-off to Comrie's right-hand side. Puck cleared out of play under the Edmonton bench once again with Chris Knobloch this time patrolling for the first time as an NHL coach, a training camp. Of course, Knobloch took over with the Oilers sitting at 3-9-1 last year.
Went pretty good for him, Jack.
Sure did. Paul Coffey, Mark Stewart, Glenn Gullinson return as assistants on the Edmonton bench. Winnipeg coached this year by Scott Arniel, who was drafted by the Jets 43 years ago.
He was a good player for them.
Absolutely, especially on that 85 team, which many would say that 85 team might have been their best team. Of course, ran into the Oilers. 90 was an okay team, but ultimately
85 and 87, they had good teams both those years.
Yeah. Chipped up the right-hand side, Emberson. Over the right-hand side, he got swallowed up by Stanley. Loose in the corner. Top of the right circle, Lavoie. Drake Kajula moves it down low, and now the Oilers trapped in the corner. Those 85 and 87 teams, fortunately,
wrong division.
Not only wrong division, but wrong time, considering the 85 and 87 Oilers might be the two greatest teams of all time, period. Not just in Edmonton.
Well, 85 was picked the best team, but most of the players from those two teams will tell you the 87 team is actually better.
Well, it depends who you talk to. I could think of a certain assistant on the Oilers staff who would disagree with that comment.
Yeah, what does he know?
Here's a chance. Top of the right circle, Josh Brown missing a wrist shot. Mike Hoffman on it for the Oilers. Had 10 goals a year ago in San Jose. Ben Gleason checked off the puck by Daniel Torgerson of Winnipeg, and he'll scramble his way to the Jets' blue line, and Edmonton will make a line change. 6.5 to go, first period.
You had Ruotsalainen on defense and Kent Nilsson at forward.
With 5 minutes, 33 seconds left in the first period, the Edmonton Oilers are tied with the Winnipeg Jets 1-1.
Tell you the 84 and 85 Oilers had a little more grit.
Yes.
And thus more battle-tested, perhaps playoff ready. 87 a little more skilled. A drive from distance and a save made by Comrie. Rebound, Cam Dineen. It's a fun argument to have, especially when it's within the organization.
Yeah.
Here's Grube to Cam Wright. Checked against the half-boards. And eventually cleared by Salamanson. And the Jets from center ice, Toninato will swing it in. Dominic Toninato
scored a big goal in here, Jack. About 4 years ago in the playoffs?
Absolutely. Part of the Jets' 4-game sweep, although the best player in that series wore number 37 and was the Jets goaltender. Hasn't found it in the playoffs since. Wristed around the boards, and you've got Emberson. Shoveled down low. Jets beat Colorado in game 1 of their series last year, but they beat them 7-6, and it just didn't get any better for Winnipeg. The Jets kept leaking goals. Colorado shut it down and won that series in 5. Winnipeg gave up 28 goals in 5 games.
That's hard to do. You're not going to win a lot of series doing that.
Chipped up the right-hand side by Rasmus Skapari, but the Oilers are able to hem the Jets in here. Working down low is Hamblin, protecting the puck in the far corner. As time continues to run inside 5 minutes now to play in the first period, we're tied at 1. Gustafson on the deflection, and Sam O'Reilly off a feed from Cam Dineen. The equalizer for Edmonton, it's 1-1. Oilers force a turnover in the neutral zone. O'Reilly trying to beat out Stanley wide, closed off by Coughlin, who worked it up the left-hand side and back to center. Brown will take over for the Oilers, hit Kajula down the seam. Kajula loads up, never got a shot away. Comrie again came out. Kajula tried to stick handle his way through traffic and then coughed it up in the high slot. Jets able to regain the puck. Here's Lopinen. Nice hip check, freedom of the puck, and that was well delivered by Ben Gleason.
Hilliard Graves special there, Jack.
Brown will reset. I thought you were going to throw out a Craig Muni reference since we were just talking.
Well, that would be a knee and not a hip.
Oilers. Well, I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Here's Stefan. In over the line, left-hand side. Noah Philp down low to Mike Hoffman. Checked off the puck in the corner by Torgerson. And the Jets, with 3.5 minutes to go, look to move it up the left-hand side. And doing exactly that, Bardot. After it, Carrick turned it over. Quick shot, rebound off the post. Janssen Fjallby unable to beat Rodrigue, covering up at the far post. And the Oilers with an outlet up the left-hand side. Carrick will move it from center ice. Shot in deep by Noah Philp. No pressure on Salamonson. A reset for Winnipeg. Chipped in, Sautner laid it ahead. Parker Ford. Rodrigue played it up the left-hand side. Did not get it out, though. Here's a centering pass, Toninato. The shot deflected away by Rodrigue. Toninato again looking to set up Parker Ford, who had the last chance from the right circle. Ford still battling side of the net, now engaged with Travis Dermott. Also here on a PTO for the Edmonton Oilers. On the back end, Toninato threw it toward the net. That went off a skate. Oilers able to reverse up the left-hand side. Dermott gathering steam is Cam Wright. Salamonson able to reel him in, perhaps illegally, but no penalty was called. Referees tonight, Grady Hamilton and Tom Shimoleski, and they've kept the action moving. We're down to 2 minutes to play in this first period. Preseason opener tied at 1. Oilers take over. Neutral zone, Josh Brown. Ben Gleason up the right-hand side and sifted in deep by James Hamblin. Jets first on the puck. Kapari swung it up the left-hand side. Walton slightly tripped up. Brown, an awkward fall, went down in a heap. Jets trying to negate Matt Savoy at center. They do. Line change Edmonton. Walton steps in for the Jets. Kapari, off-balance shot, no chance. Rebound off the end boards, taken by Coughlin. Put it back behind, Kapari. Now Walton, centering pass, poked away, back into the corner. Walton is able to regain behind the net. Centering pass, floats out, Stanley. Shot redirected, nice save. Point blank on Kapari by Olivier Rodrigue. And there's Kapari's NHL career in a nutshell. Yep. Pretty good chances, knows where to be, but can't finish. Loose in the corner, Anderson Dolan. Another LA King prospect that did not pan out. Sam O'Reilly hoists it back through the middle. Final minute, first period, preseason opener. The shots are 6-4 Edmonton. The game is tied at 1. O'Reilly the equalizer. Gustafson, the man credited with Winnipeg's goal, gets it in deep. Janssen Fjallby back to the point, lining up, shooting his Bardot. That ricocheted a couple times. LeBlanc turned it over. Then it was kicked back by Anhorn. Swept around the boards by Bardot. And regained and settled by Cam Dineen. Set up O'Reilly for the equalizer. Centering pass deflected away by Gustafson. Noah Philp in the corner, checked off the puck. Lavoie with 10 seconds to go in the period. Puts the brakes on, little spin move left corner. Protects well. Philp out to Dineen, dishes off. A shot at the horn, wide from Emerson. And the Oilers will have to settle for a 1-1 tie after 20 minutes of play. The shot clock, 6-4 Edmonton. Gustafson, first shift of the game, has a shot from Stanley, glance off his chest and in. And at the 17-second mark, the Jets held a 1-0 lead. Then O'Reilly came back, darting down the middle. And as Bob mentioned, quick transition from backhand to forehand. And the right-handed shot, able to pump it past Eric Comrie off feed from Cam Dineen. We are tied at 1 through 20. Any meaningful dialogue you'd like to discuss here in that opening 20 minutes? 1-1 tie as we bring you back for the second period. Edmonton, Winnipeg tonight, preseason opener. Gustafsson from Stanley and Janssen-Fjällby 17 seconds into the game for the Jets. O'Reilly, the equalizer, the first-round pick from this past summer. Dineen and Carrick with the helpers, and O'Reilly will take the opening face-off here in the second period. Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer back inside our Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth high atop Rogers Place. Well attended for a beautiful Sunday afternoon preseason game. That would have been something if we had as many people as we have here on Saturday. But a great fan appreciation morning. Chatted with Oiler veterans Curtis Glencross and Andrew Ferentz. Stuck around, signed some autographs, and now on into this preseason opener. A dump in for Edmonton. Comrie a misplay. Drake Caggiula takes over behind the Winnipeg net, and he'll locate Brown for a blast, a save. Comrie a rebound, loose for a moment, top of the crease, and then pulled in by the Winnipeg goaltender. 33 seconds into the second period. Should be noted, Comrie with Kakinen backing up and having played last night will go the full 60 minutes tonight. Midway through the second period, Olivier Rodrigue, we're expecting to be relieved by Colin Delia, who of course backed up last year for Winnipeg and then played in its American Hockey League, the affiliate, of course, the Manitoba Moose. Off the draw and a shot whipped from the right-hand side and wide. Manitoba plays in the same building.
And Delia had a tough year.
He did. 11-19-1, looking to bounce back this year in Edmonton's organization, where he'll be slated to play in Bakersfield. .872 save percentage, but Delia's been a guy at times effective at the National Hockey League level. He's carved out 19 wins for himself, including 10 a couple of years ago. Vancouver Canucks, he kind of was one of the guys, Bob, that got Rick Tockett's winning program moving forward.
They're going to be an interesting team to watch this year, Vancouver.
I think they're a team with among the biggest variances possible in the National Hockey League.
No question about that. I mean, my expectation is they're a 100-point team, but you never know if their goaltending situation doesn't get straightened out. And
if Elias Pettersson is the Pettersson of the final 25 games plus playoffs as opposed to the first 50 games, he's got to rediscover his form. But Cole's dishing off one-timer, ripped by Savoy, deflected out to the point, hammered toward the net. Comrie makes a save on Cam Dineen from distance. 2 minutes gone by here in the second period. Popped off the stick of Podkolzin and cleared by Walton of Winnipeg. Giving ground is Connor Carrick, defending Jared Anderson-Dolan to the middle of the ice. Walton could not get a shot away. Stick tied up, and Rodrigue will fall on it. As getting in the mix that time, Dineen never really allowed Kieran Walton to get a shot off. Rodrigue able to smother it. 17:41 to go, second period, tied at 1. I think Vancouver and Vegas, when you look at the Pacific Division, could be 100 to 105-point teams, Bob, but they could also be 80-85-point teams, in my opinion.
Yeah, maybe 90 to 105 for me, but I think that's fair. I don't think they're going to quite drop to that level.
I think if Demko is hurt for any significant stretch of time, it's one thing to come in with, Shilov's had a good run against Edmonton, competed, certainly. But over the course of a long season, when you're the number one guy, it's a little bit different.
Well, the Oilers in the end got to him, right? By games 6 and 7, Edmonton got to another level.
Yeah, his numbers were, they were fine, but they weren't otherworldly.
Jack, the Oilers won a playoff series with the lowest save percentage ever from a starting goaltender to win a playoff series in NHL history.
That's what I mean. Shilov's was okay, but he wasn't great. And now you put him in, Bob, for 30, 35 games, and it could get ugly. Chance for Zhilkin, can't finish against Rodrigue from the right circle. And that's really, when you look at Winnipeg's forwards dress tonight, guys not only struggling to score at the NHL level, but the American Hockey League level. And Zhilkin is in that group. 2 goals in 44 American Hockey League games last year. Scored in the mid-20s in the Ontario League, but hasn't found it at the professional level. The Oilers dump it in, and it's a reset for Winnipeg, and Ashton Sautner. Up the right-hand side, Janssen Fjallby floats one behind the Oiler net, played expertly by Rodrigue, and Gleason will laser one up the right-hand boards. That'll turn into an icing call, and the whistle goes with 3.5 gone by in the second period, tied at 1. And then if you couple that with Pettersson, if he struggles to the degree he did, and I know you think he's going to bounce back, and he probably would, but he had a real rough, for an elite player, he had as rough a 25 to 35 game stretch as you'll see.
At the end of the day, Edmonton's star players, come crunch time,
play even better.
And jury's still out in Vancouver, and that allowed Edmonton to overcome a tough series with Stuart Skinner in goal.
And pretty good efforts from guys like JT Miller, should be noted.
Yep.
Cut off from the corner, a shot redirected a couple times, and a save made Rodrigue.
But Bouchard outplayed Quinn Hughes.
Lead pass back to the point. Anhorn could not keep it in, and now we'll have our first penalty of the game at the 3:59 mark, and it's going to be a hold. As that puck came up ice swiftly, and Anhorn, having been caught in a partial pinch, reached out and got the call. So Edmonton will go to the power play. And again, tomorrow night we're expecting we may see as many as the whole first power play unit, but tonight's a different story, Bob. So opportunities for guys like Podkolzin and Mike Hoffman.
Take a look at who's taking the draw here.
Matt Savoy.
Yeah, well, played a lot of center, as you know, in junior, but if he's going to play in the NHL for the Oilers, it's going to be on right wing.
Savoy won the faceoff, flipped back to the point for Ben Gleason. Lavoie giving Edmonton a 4-4 look. The pass to the middle intended for Savoy, and that misfired.
I was there, but Colson found him.
Gleason gathers off the misplay. Podkolzin again moving it to Savoy. This time over the line successfully for Mike Hoffman. Around the boards, Lavoie protects for Gleason. Now a quick dish for Savoy from Hoffman. Hoffman, Gleason, one-timer, and a shattered stick for Lavoie. Raphael Lavoie, the last 2 years in the American Hockey League, 53 goals, and finding Savoy again that time was Podkolzin, and Comrie makes the save. And that time Savoy was ready to shoot. I'll say this, Podkolzin, Hoffman, they're NHL players. You got to realize if you're Matt Savoy, they're going to get you the puck. Be ready to do something with it.
Yeah, no question about that. You know, the Oilers had Carter Savoy, and he was a swing as a fourth-round pick, a kid out of the AJ, won a national title at Denver. I think it's fair to say that there was some debate over, there's a reason he was drafted in the fourth round. Matt Savoy is a completely different personality.
Cam Dineen getting it back from Carrick. A shot from the point redirected up and out of play. What do you mean by that, Bob?
Well, Matt Savoy, first of all, he's built like a chicken hawk. Like, he is got a hard, firm body on him that belies his age. He's got wiry strength. And then, Carter had issues staying healthy, being healthy, really right from the rookie camps on, and it kind of undermined any success he had in the minors. And Matt's just simply in better shape. Now, he's a 9th overall pick versus a 100th overall pick. But Oilers took a swing on Carter, didn't really work out, and they're hoping for a better run here with Matt. Because they gave up a good player, as you know, Ryan McLeod in that deal.
Moving to his left, Cam Dineen off the power play. This is a broken play that turns into an offside. Stepping in prematurely, Drake Caggiula. He had Carrick on his left. 41 seconds left on the Atco power play. Once again, this year's power play brought to you by Alberta's trusted energy retailer.
I mean, it's pretty obvious that Matt Savoy is going to be playing right wing in the minors, and that he's going to play in the NHL as a right winger. And the Oilers have increased some finances in the area of development, much needed, may I add. And you're going to be really intrigued to see how a guy like Savoy progresses in the Oilers organization.
Gleason moves it over to Hoffman. Podkolzin, side of the net, turns and fires off the pads. of Eric Comrie, and it in turn is launched down the right-hand side and out by Dylan Coghlan. We're down to 15 seconds left on this Atco power play. And now Zhilkin doing a nice job of tying up Ben Gleason in the Oilers zone. Carved out of there by Savoy. Podkolzin tried to put it into heavy traffic for Lavoie. That was broken up. And the Jets are able to wind it around the boards and out. That'll do it for the Oiler power play. 6 minutes into the second period, we remain tied at 1. Travis Dermott hustles it back in. Ran into Stanley. Got it back, and now Jaden Grube. Nifty pass, cross-seamer, broken up by Coghlan. So William Nickel was trying to slide that across the top of the blue paint. He'll leave it in the corner. Kapari swarmed under by Grube. Cam right back to the point. Shot not a lot on it from Dermott, and he'll hustle back as Kapari will attack left wing. Pulls up top of the circle. Send it down low. Ford taken out by Emberson, but now getting back on it is Kevin He. Played back behind the net. Tracked by Emberson. He'll shovel it up the left-hand side. Emberson suffered a deep cut last year, limited him to 30 games with San Jose. But when healthy, and considering the team he was playing for, he gave a pretty good account of himself.
Some good analytics.
Here's Toninato in for the Jets. Centering past Bardot, broken up. And that's grabbed by Podkolzin. 12:50 to go, second period. Podkolzin looking to regain against Walton. Slid off his stick. And Bardot forks it over for the Jets through the neutral zone. Turned over initially by Anhorn, and the Oilers will just go D-to-D and reset. Brown gets it back from Gleason. Now sends one up the boards. James Hamlin breaks loose for a moment. Reeled in by Gustafson. Went down in a heap right corner. Torgerson came over. Freed it up for the moment. Gustafson trying to get it out. The pesky Hamlin continues to hem the Jets in. Bardot slid it up the right-hand side, and Ben King makes certain of a clear inside the Oiler blue line. Carrick on the retrieval for the Oilers. Right to left comes Mike Hoffman. Scampers his way into the zone, gives it up. Noah Philp protecting against Coghlan. Then for Hoffman. Spins to his right, gives it up. Middle of the ice, intended for Philp, broken up. Connor Carrick tried a short pass there that did not pan out. So he'll leave it for Hoffman. Back across the line. Return to the middle of the ice, and Comrie is there to cover for the Winnipeg Jets, who've been outshot tonight 12-7. Jets scored early. The Oilers answered with an equalizer by Sam O'Reilly, the 32nd overall pick this past summer. And we've had no scoring since. We are tied at 1. 11:34 to go, second period. And this is Ford Dealers NHL Hockey, the Oilers Radio Network. Well, Colin Delia is warmed up and ready to go in the tunnel, but for now, Rodriguez stays in as the Oilers get an offensive zone draw. Missed shot from the point taken by Travis Dermott, and a clear for Torgerson of Winnipeg. We are tied at 1. Preseason opener, live from our Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in the city of Edmonton. The Oilers last year winning 49 games. At least 49 for the third straight year, on their way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final before losing to Florida 2-1. Drive from Emberson sailed wide. Winnipeg actually finished with a better regular season record last year than Edmonton. 52-24-6. The Jets were the higher seed, but lost to Colorado in the first round.
Well, they're in a tough division because you got to factor in Colorado and Dallas, and now Nashville.
Here's Lavoie, one-timer ripped from the high slot. Kick save made by Eric Comrie up the right-hand side, and that's dumped in by Torgerson. Meanwhile, I would say, and I know you would not join me in that sentiment, but I would say the only Pacific Division team I think you'd almost put your mortgage on to make the playoffs would be Edmonton.
I'd have Vegas and Vancouver in there, too.
Did you put your mortgage on it?
Sure. I have two of them.
Jared Anderson Dolan. You'd put both of them. Wow.
I think they're both making the playoffs.
Oh, I think they'll make it.
I don't know.
I'm not confident. I think the Pacific has a lot more room for movement than the Central.
I don't know if LA is going to make it this year. is an addition by subtraction without Pierre-Luc Dubois.
Chipped in, left-hand side, Raphael Lavoie. He's belted in the corner by Sautner. An outlet for Anderson Dolan missed, and that will turn into an icing call against the Jets with 9:37 to go in this second period. Winnipeg has just 7 shots on net, one of them deflected in. And now that we've played 30 minutes and 23 seconds, Olivier Rodriguez's night is, well, I thought was going to be done, but there's an icing call. So Rodriguez is going to stay in there. Delia's ready to go. He's warmed up in the tunnel, and he'll be coming in at the next stoppage. It's an icing. So Edmonton, an offensive zone face-off. Hamlin wins it, and now we have a warning for a violation. Often in the preseason, we see some rules that have been kind of, not enforced, but kind of mentioned as points of emphasis. And then sometimes it drifts away in the regular season. Here's a drive from the point by Connor Carrick that kicks off the end boards. Comrie went down awkwardly. He's back up on his feet as the Jets get it in deep. And now presumably Edmonton. Here's a centering pass in front for Podkolzin. Shoveled to him by Hamlin. Could not finish. Comrie the save. Stepping up, shooting is Emberson. Kick save made by Comrie. Jets are able to pull the rebound out of the pile up the right-hand side. Dermott tries to hold his position, but it's nudged forward, and now here's Walt. Kind of a gangly forward, driven off the puck rather easily by Emberson. And a clear for Mike Hoffman. For the Oilers up the right-hand side. Stefan put it in deep. Had a nice year last year in the American Hockey League. Scored 15 goals for San Diego in the Anaheim organization. Dermott launching down the middle. That's going to be settled by Comrie. Laid off to Stanley.
Little surprised Ben King's on a PTO. Would have thought that he would have been re-signed,
Parker Ford sent it in deep. Chipped in, left-hand side. Sent back the other way. And that'll be an icing call.
As you know, King Lyon just had a terrific year as a 19-year-old in the OHL.
Red Deer.
Yeah, with the Red Deer Rebels. And guy we saw surprisingly at the rookie tournament last week, Archie Baines, with 55 points in 59 games as a second-year player in the AHL last year. You don't often see guys with 2 years of AHL experience in rookie tournaments. 2 full seasons. Vancouver took that tournament quite seriously, I guess.
Philp won the face-off. Dermott up the left-hand side. Oilers went 0-3 for just the second time in the history of the Penticton Young Stars tournament. Scored 1 goal in 180 minutes. Got the equalizer early tonight. Sam O'Reilly played in that tournament. Tied the game after an early deflection. Credited to Gustafsson. Here are the Jets deep in the zone. Quickly snapped across by Bardot. Picked off by Kajula. Slashed it free for Gleason with 7.5 to go in the second period. He'll turn and give it up for Josh Brown. Up the left-hand side. And now move through the middle. Brown, a reset. Looks for an outlet. Lavoie and Kajula will change as we come up on 7 minutes to play in the period. O'Reilly now out there with Cam Wright. And on the left-hand side, William Nickel. Now O'Reilly changes. Comrie lays it off. Right-hand boards, Torgerson. Defending is Jaden Grube. Janssen Fjallby put it behind the net. Logan Stanley comes up. Janssen Fjallby protects for Gustafsson. He's trapped in the corner. Able to fish it out of there. Good work by Jaden Grube. He and Wright have some bite. Part of that group that'll give Bakersfield its identity this year for Colin Chalk and Keith McCambridge down on the farm. Logan Stanley up the middle. Parker 4. 6.25 to go. Second period. We're tied at 1 in the preseason opener. Edmonton in the blue uniforms. Winnipeg in the white. Salamonson from the right side for the Jets. Put it behind the Oiler net. Now receives a pass high slot, fakes the shot. And that pass had no chance for Kevin He. Put it right in his feet. And a leaping play made by the Oilers and a clear for Cam Wright. There's Salamanca back across the line to Parker Ford. Right wing shot, blocked, went directly to Matt Savoy. Up the right-hand side, gathered and sent in deep by Podkolzin. He'll finish his check in the corner and create space for Savoy. Took a hard check from Bardot, and that puck came loose and was launched by Anhorn up the middle. Batted down, and the Jets are offside with 5:22 to play in this second period. Winnipeg has gone more than 10 minutes without a shot on net. The Oilers and the Jets locked in a 1-1 tie. Edmonton a 16-7 spread on the shot clock, and we'll have more third period play-by-play in just a moment. We're live from Rogers Place, the Oilers Radio Network.
Tired of skyrocketing energy?
1-1 tie, 5:22 to go, second period. Edmonton and the Winnipeg Jets. And, of course, they'll meet in the regular season opener. Bob and I will have it for you. We might as well say it right now. We might as well start pumping people over to 880 because that's where we're going to be. That'll be we're there now, but 6:30, Chad, the flagship home of the Oilers Radio Network, has the preseason slate. We're transitioning you over to 880. That's the only thing that does change is go to 880, and you'll hear the same broadcast you've heard for so many years. Bob's back, so is Cam, so is Rob, Bryn Griffiths. This year, our pre- and post-game host, Overtime Open Line. Again, on the flagship home of the Oilers Radio Network. It will remain Chad, but it's going to be located at 880, starting with that regular season opener, October 9th, against these same Winnipeg Jets. Well, not these same Winnipeg Jets. I'm not sure we'll see any of them. Rasmus Kapari streaking down the left wing. Cross ice, a pass tipped, Wolt. Behind the net, he'll locate Anderson Dolan. Swooping, dishing, one-timer blast, and a save made by goaltender Colin Delia. And that's the first shot he's gotten a look at. Came in midway through the second period. And as Bob mentioned, a well-traveled veteran, 30 years of age. He's coming off an off year with Winnipeg's American Hockey League affiliate. I'm going to make a bet right now, Bob. I'm going to say that none of these Jets are in the lineup on October the 9th. Starting lineup. Like as in, sure, playing. You could see Comrie backing up, but in terms of actually in the game. 4.5 to go, second period.
I think we know Emerson.
I think there's going to be 3 Oilers in the line.
Emerson and Brown for sure.
And Podkolzin. I think 3 Oilers for sure will be in the opening night lineup against the Jets. Podkolzin to Matt Savoy up the right-hand side. That's bumped out of play. 4:24 to go, second period. Tied at 1. Again, the goals. David Gustafsson had one glance off his body on a shot from Logan Stanley 17 seconds in. And then Cam Dineen hit Sam O'Reilly with a nice outlet pass, and O'Reilly was able to move from backhand to forehand on the right-handed shot, beating Eric Comrie glove side for the equalizer. That came 3.5 minutes into the hockey game. We haven't had a goal since. Brown, the outlet to James Hamlin. He's checked by Zhilkin at center ice. Following up on the play and sending it in deep, Matt Savoy. Jets regain the puck. Coughlin up the left-hand side. Brown defending on the half wall, then pulling up with possession of the puck behind his own net up the right-hand side. Josh Brown, a fresh start. He's been on some organizations with some internal combustion, if you will, in Arizona and Ottawa. Yep. But most importantly, he's settled on a winner. In over the line. Lopinen unable to get a shot away, tied up with Kajula. He and Grube will come up ice. Over the line, Kajula cross ice. Tried to hit Lavoie. That was broken up. Good play defensively by Ben King. As Bob mentioned, the guy who had a good year in the American Hockey League last season. Now Lavoie shoots, and that went off a body in front. Kajula tracked it down in the corner. And finally, it's forced back to center. Dineen will give some ground as we come up on 3 minutes to play in the second period. In from the left-hand side, Cam Wright cuts behind the net, shoots. Comrie there to make the save. Rebound, a little laissez-faire in moving the puck initially, Zhilkin, but finally he was able to golf it back to center. Cam Wright fires cross ice, missed William Nickel, and that's going to be picked up by Winnipeg and settled ultimately by Salamonson. Up the right-hand side. Ford got it in. Emerson will carry it swiftly up the right-hand side. Emerson played with Dylan Holloway at the University of Wisconsin. Also played for Chris Knobloch a couple years ago in Hartford.
Had a good year there.
Chipped up the right-hand side and out by Ford back to center. Slashed back the other way. Dermott will pick it up. He's got Stefan with him. Wrist shot and a save made by Comrie. Now Phil takes his turn and has his shot blocked. Stefan, 5 years in the Western Hockey League for one of the premier teams year in, year out, especially offensively, Portland Winterhawk. Where do you think Stefan will slot in initially within this organization?
Third line right wing in the minors.
Lead pass left-hand side, but Colson, a shot and a save made. Squared up cleanly was Comrie. And he makes his 19th save of the afternoon and keeps it a 1-1 tie with 1:32 to play in the second period. This is
Jack Michaels, Bob Stauffer with you. We're live in our Legacy Heating and Cooling broadcast booth. And O'Reilly able to win the faceoff. Oilers have had one power play today and did not convert. They have not been on the penalty kill, but I'll tell you that Napa Auto Parts returns as our penalty kill sponsor, just to be nice. Anderson Dolan tips it out right-hand side for Winnipeg. Rasmus Kapari banged it back behind the net where Josh Brown was waiting for it for the Oilers. Digging in Kajula to try to force it up the right-hand side. Stanley lets fly, and Colin Delia, who replaced Olivier Rodrigue mid-game, will make the save. Bob, if you don't mind, indulge me and indulge our listeners a little bit with a thought of how much attention should you pay to a guy who scores 50 as an overage major junior?
I think if you're the Oilers and you've moved draft capital to load up, you have to look at those players. There's something I like about James Steffen. Yes, he was fourth in the league in goals, but he was third in the league in shorthanded goals. And that to me is a sign that he can skate and make some things happen. And I know in even strength points, he was in the top 5 in scoring in the Western League last year as well.
In from the left-hand side, Connor Carrick sends it down low. Stepping up, Cam Dineen, cross ice. That was tipped. Carrick sneaks down with 40 seconds to play in the period. Oilers trying for their first lead, but a steal by Torgerson, and instead it's Winnipeg left to right. Torgerson sends it in deep, and that's going to be covered by Delia. Now, just to follow up on that, Bob, is that partly because in the next 2 to 3 years, if you look at Edmonton realistically, you're not going to get on the power play on this club. So do you look for guys who can do things on special teams, especially from a shorthanded perspective?
I think James Steffen is probably, if everything works out perfectly, and the Oilers, there's no salary cap in R&D, research and development. They've invested a lot of money on the development side. He's probably 3 years away from, if he can get into the mix in Edmonton, that's how deep the team is.
Right.
And he's going to have to bring different things to the table. I don't think there's any debate about that. I think that's just a given. So, it's like Matt Savoy. Matt Savoy's going down. He's, maybe a year from now we're talking Matt Savoy third line right wing. 2 years from now, Matt Savoy second line right wing.
Off the draw to Delia's right. The Oilers exit the zone.
And that's a 9th overall pick, Jeff.
Matt Savoy, you mean?
Yes, not a guy that was an undrafted 20. Steffen's got a chance. You're taking a swing. You're hoping that he becomes something. One of the things that the Penguins, when they won the back-to-back cups, is they hit on a lot of NCAA guys a little bit later on. The Oilers, you can do it through, undrafted 20s. I think Edmonton's going to need to get into the free agent market in the NCAA on left shot defense in the next couple of years. I think that's a given that's going to happen.
Icing call against the Jets. Philp with 10 seconds to go in the period won a face-off back to Emberson, who could not get it on net. And instead, the Jets will clear, and that will be all for the second period. As by the time Dermott got back, time had run out. The shots are 19-9. No scoring in the second period, so the score. And a face-off win for the Edmonton Oilers. James Hamblin, who streaks in left to right. This game tied at 1. Eric Comrie in net for Winnipeg, and Colin Delia has come on for the Edmonton Oilers. Just 7 shots faced for Rodrigue. He stopped 6. And a clear by Daniel Torgerson up to Janssen Fjallby. Cleared out of play. And 34 seconds into this third period, we'll get a neutral zone face-off.
So who's caught your eye so far, Jack?
Well, for me, the guys I'm trying to pay attention to, Colson, and then you've got to look at Brown and Emerson, because those are the 3 guys you're anticipating being in the opening night lineup. Now, the one thing I've noticed on Colson, even when he was struggling the last 2 years in Vancouver, he's not a guy who shies away from contact. He's not a perimeter player. He gets in on the forecheck and he hits. And I've seen evidence of that tonight as Kevin Heel be whistled for an icing call. And that'll come against the Jets. Gleason able to outrace Toninato and draw the face-off all the way back into the Winnipeg zone, opening minute, third period. I mean, and as far as Brown and Emerson, they've looked as they should look in this type of game as players probably, a shade higher up in the lineup than you'd expect. Logan Stanley has looked the same way for me against Winnipeg, just a little more polished, poised professionalism.
Yeah,
but I will concede what you say in terms of Edmonton's lineup on the back end, filled with guys who can move the puck. And that's reflected in the numbers they put up in the American Hockey League over the course of their careers. I mean, Gleason, Dineen, Carrick are all proven American Hockey League point producers from the back end. Up the left-hand side, Josh Brown not able to get the puck out. He'll get a second look. Caught a glancing blow on Salamonson, and now a shot from distance from Parker Ford is easily kicked aside by Delia, who did not have a screen in front. Gleason eventually backhands it over to Josh Brown, who whistles one over the head of Dawson Barbeau, and that certainly looked like icing. They waved it off. Barbeau ultimately moved it up to Kapari, and he'll shovel it wide of the Oiler net off the rush. Taken by Stefan, but not out of the zone. Kapari drags it back to the middle of the ice, and he's drawn a slashing call against Edmonton. And this will be the first time the Oilers have been on the Napa Auto Parts penalty kill all night.
Well, that happens because, unfortunately, James Stefan
didn't get the puck out.
Turned the puck over. Kapari, who had an injury-riddled season last year, tried to beat a couple men, drew a call.
So Carrick ends up taking the penalty. It's officially called a hold, and this Napa Auto Parts penalty kill. And there was a no-doubter as Carrick just reached up. How's a horse collar?
Made that one count, didn't he?
So that's an easy one. Face off right side of goaltender Colin Delia, and immediately cleared by Emerson. And now a shorthanded chance for Kajula. Fleet of foot down the right-hand side. Coming over to erase the possibility was Kevin Heath.
Philp won another draw there, Jack. He's won 2 or 3 draws in important areas on the ice.
Philp out there on this penalty kill with Emerson, Dermott, and Kajula. Played around the boards by Winnipeg in the offensive zone. Torgerson carved out along the right half boards by Parker Ford. Torgerson pulls his way to the corner. Emerson picked it off and rifled it down the left-hand side. Good hard play in the corner.
Stopped the cycle. Nice play defensively.
Parker Ford, hailing from Rhode Island, It's the first Rhode Island guy that comes to mind that played in the NHL, Bob.
Where's Brian Lawton from? Was he from Rhode Island initially?
That's a good question. It was not the guy I was thinking of. It's a colleague of ours. Does some impressions?
Brian Boucher?
Correct.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Over the line and offside, Jared Anderson Dolan will have a neutral zone faceoff
He's a
upcoming.
very talented broadcaster as well.
3.5 minutes gone by here in the third period and 44 seconds left in the Napa Auto Parts penalty kill. The Jets have not really gotten a good look yet on this power play. Again, about their top guys like Nick Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Josh Morrissey. Should be too surprised by that development off the draw. A little bit of a reset as the Jets draw it back in their own zone. Grube and Brown, pressure up ice, forced the puck loose at the blue line.
I feel
Winnipeg knew it was offside, and the Oilers come over and Grube will slash it down the right-hand boards. Why, Bob?
Brunswick, New Jersey for Lawton, but I think he spent a fair amount of time in Rhode Island.
What, on vacation?
I don't know. That's what the Russian judge told, or the French judge told me.
You're never wrong. You're just different shades of right.
Oh, no, I'm wrong.
Here's Anderson Dolan.
But 4 or 5 times a show or a broadcast, Jack.
Trying to poke it free. Jilkin tied up in the corner, and that Winnipeg power play went by without real incident. A clear to center. But Colson stymied as they approach the Winnipeg line. Now Anderson Dolan. Soft backhand chip over to the left-hand side. This game still tied at 1. Emerson whistled off the boards, glanced off the side of the net, and that turns into an icing call against Matt Savoy and the Edmonton Oilers. 4.5 minutes gone by in the third period. And this is the first game of the preseason, so it bears repeating that someone's going to have to score to win this game.
Yes. Rick Bracey drafted the man who scored the goals so far. Of course, he took Sam O'Reilly 32nd, Jack. He got a pretty good O'Reilly 33rd when he was the head scout of Colorado.
He didn't get a bad guy in rounds 1 or 3 either.
Well, pulled off the trifecta in that draft for the Avalanche.
Duchesne, O'Reilly, and Tyson Barrie. How's that for
who I think
first 3 picks of a draft?
I think Tyson's got a deal in the drawer in Calgary. Wouldn't surprise me. He's in on a PTO. I could see them signing 1 year, $1 million at some point here.
Have you actually seen the deal in the drawer? I mean,
no.
That was pretty specific.
It wouldn't surprise me.
All right. Janssen Fjallby, that covered up by Colin Delia on the deflection. 15:02 to go in the third period.
Tyson's a hard guy not to like, as you know.
Well, an admired teammate, a guy who's now carved out a decade-and-a-half long career in the National Hockey League.
But the guy that replaced him on that Oilers power play, Boucher, all he's done in the last 3 playoff years is put up the 3rd most points in the NHL. The only 2 players that are ahead of him are on his team. One's called Connor and one's called Leon. And they traded all for a Stanley Cup, Jack.
Off the draw. Shot by Coughlin, disappears into heavy traffic. Savoy battling with Parker Ford. Punched away from Logan Stanley. The Oilers tried to catch the Jets, but instead inadvertently iced the puck. Hoffman was trying to lead a jailbreak, 2-on-1 up ice. Got knocked away, and Edmonton ended up icing.
Do you remember when Hoffman was in Ottawa and Connor McDavid went from the left point to the right point and then walked down and walked Hoffman, who was in no man's land, like it wasn't his fault, where was the defense, and scored one of those goals early.
Well, we were watching that game from Ottawa. The one I'm thinking of basically came from the right half boards, cut left, and all of a sudden the puck was in the net. And I don't think that's his most impressive move in Ottawa. I would say his most impressive move was the spinorama
on the PK
and the dish to McLeod.
Yeah, that was a pretty nice play, too.
That, I thought, was as good a play as he's ever made. Here's a steal and a quick wrist shot taken by Hoffman, blocking away by Eric Comrie. Oilers control the puck, and drifting through the neutral zone back into his own end with a handoff to Brown is Mike Hoffman. Hoffman was part of that Ottawa club that was a goalpost away from going to the 2017 Stanley Cup Final. 6 months later, the franchise was in total disarray, and the Senators weren't close to returning to the playoffs, let alone the Eastern Conference Final. Someday a documentary will be compiled about that team. Delia up the left-hand side. Worked around the boards. Jilkin trying to hunt down a loose puck along the left half wall. Lopin unable to get a shot away and carrying it up ice, and eventually toward the net was Nickel. His shot deflected up over top off the plexiglass behind Comrie. Lopin did not get out. Jets struggle to maintain control of the puck. Edmonton's in the midst of a change, though, so wisely taking a skate to allow both teams to make changes will be Anhorn. Dylan Anhorn goes by the rule of 2. 2 years in the AJ, 2 years in the BCHL, 2 years at Union College, and the last 2 at St. Cloud. It's brought him to this point, the age of 25. Here's Gustafson into the zone. Shot from the point, whistled wide by Coghlan. Rebound Logan Stanley, left circle. Wrist shot covered by Delia. And with 12:46 to play in the third period, the Jets with a decent push to start this third period, but no damage inflicted on the scoreboard. The 2 goals came in the first 3.5 minutes. Gustafson for Winnipeg.
Hire Hunter for your next event or special occasion.
But he's drawn. Here tied at 1, face-off to the right of Colin Delia, and a shot from Torgerson does not squeeze its way through off the draw.
It's the second draw Noah Phillips lost all game. He's 9-2 in the face-offs.
Stefan makes a nice play off the wall, and here's Phil breaking loose, right wing centering pass, and unable to find it in his feet. Lavoie could not settle down that bouncing puck, and cleared by the Jets back through the middle. Or excuse me, Hoffman rather. But Stefan made the play off the wall, and Phil put it into a dangerous area. Now Phil nearly with a steal, but he's drawn a penalty. Phil anticipated a D-to-D pass from the Jets, stole the puck, and as he busted down the seam looking to cash in on the miscue, he was hauled down by Torgerson, and that was after Phil put it into the right area, and that puck just wouldn't settle for Mike Hoffman. And Edmonton unable to score off the rush, but now the Oilers will get an Atco power play, their second of the game, and Torgerson a no doubter. Similar to the penalty that was called against Carrick moments ago. So now Savoy once again, Bob, appears poised to take the face-off here with Hoffman to his right, but Colson to his left.
Well, the Oilers have won about 70% of the draws in this game.
Gleason right point, and Lavoie in the high slot. Lavoie entrusted with knocking down the clearing attempt to the far side, could not do it, and Gleason will reload back in his own zone. Oilers on an Atco power play looking to take their first lead of the night. Dozen minutes to go, and it's 1-1. Lavoie twisting it around the boards, and no one was home for that one. That puck rolls all the way back into the Oiler end, retrieved by Hoffman. Lavoie, when he gets hot, pucks find the net. Here's Savoy giving it up for Podkolzin. Shovels it over to Rafa Lavoie. Around Janssen Fjallby. Gets it back from Podkolzin. Whistles it across. Hoffman, a shot, a save made by a splayed out Eric Comrie. Rebound held in. Good work by Hoffman. Savoy gives way to Podkolzin around the boards. Lavoie, double team. Needs to move the puck. Stanley failed to clear. Savoy was able to bottle it up and then give it up. Sent out to Mike Hoffman, top of the right circle by Podkolzin. Gleason, one-timer coming, score. Lavoie from the top of the left circle hammers it home at Edmonton, its first lead of the night.
Well, he's always been able to shoot the pill, Raphael Lavoie. He's got a heavy shot. And we haven't talked about him much being a potential guy that can make the Oilers opening day roster, because we're sort of thinking, do they maybe go 12 forwards and 7D? If they go 13 forwards, is it a Peterson or Hamill down the middle?
He did get 7 games in the NHL last year.
And they liked him under Chris Knobloch when he got recalled. Got a game in Los Angeles, as you remember. And that time he did what he can do. He can shoot the puck.
53 goals his last 2 years in the American Hockey League. And Bob, as you know, I mean, he's had the odd cold streak in the minors. But when he gets going, you're talking a goal a game for 2 weeks at a time. Here's a wrist shot score, and the Jets tie it right back up off the draw. It's Dominic Toninato with the equalizer from the top of the circles.
Well, Dominic Toninato is one of those 8 veterans in the lineup. This guy's played almost 200 games in the NHL, 184, and got into 15 games last year at the Jets, 20 points in 37 games in Manitoba, and he just ripped one home to the blocker's side on Colin Daly. If anybody's going to know Colin Daly, Dominic had his number there.
Set up by He, who just got to a puck simply off the draw, dumped in. He beat everyone to the puck from behind the net, threw it out to the high slot. Boom, it's in the net for the equalizer. Off the draw at center ice with the game now tied at 2. 2 goals in 10 seconds. That lead held up for all of 10 seconds. Lavoie had scored from Gleason and Hoffman. And then it was He with the assist on Toninato's game-time goal. Dumped in by Edmonton. A clear by Bardot out towards center. Fired in by Connor Carrot. Dawson Bardot back on the puck. Another former Red Deer Rabel. Last 4 years bouncing back and forth between the American Hockey League and the ECHL. And now a puck cleared out of play into the Oiler bench area with 9:53 to play in the third period. Will take time out. So you wait more than 2 periods for a goal, and then they arrive 10 seconds apart. Lavoie for Edmonton to give the Oilers.
Fans, we are so jumping.
That post from Cam. Draw wrist shot off the post from Cam Wright as he worked his way down the middle, and Drew Iron. Now Jaden Grube with a wraparound effort, and then glanced off the side of the net and was cleared by Lopinen of Winnipeg. Back through the middle, Wright, who just hit the post for Travis Dermott. And the Oilers in a 2-2 tie, scramble back to center. Dermott shoots it in. Around the boards, trying to hold on to it, William Nickel. Good work, but eventually curled away from him by Ben King. Josh Brown, right-hand side. Stefan gets it in deep. Brown, right point. Hoffman flubs a tough one-timer. That's Leon Draisaitl's office, but not necessarily Mike Hoffman's, at least at this point in his career. But a gifted goal scorer who had at least 20 for 6 consecutive years in the National Hockey League. Chipped in deep.
Complimentary finisher, Jack.
By Zhilkin.
That's what Hoffman is.
At this stage or in his glory years?
In his glory years. You need somebody to get him the puck, but you give him a chance, he can finish.
Hoffman to Phil. Well, he's not a guy who's going to necessarily generate his own shot, even in the best of times. On the move, in over the line, Podkolzin. Having said that, if you look at guys who've scored 20 goals at least 6 consecutive seasons heading into this year, it's not as big of a list as you might think. Podkolzin to the middle of the ice, Matt Savoy. Hard in on the forecheck, right corner. Pursuing is Hamblin. Clearing is Salamanca. Not out of the zone just yet. But Coulson able to stick with it on the left half boards, and now Gustafsson has to come over for Winnipeg. Still tied at 2, 7.5 minutes to play in regulation. Each team has led, and briefly. Oilers' lead in the third period lasted all of 10 seconds. Torgerson makes a mistake. He was not at center and just fired it blindly into the zone. Dineen was already back for Edmonton, and it's an easy icing call against the visiting Jets. For this year, I have a new coaching staff with Rick Bowness having retired, Scott Arneal, who once coached the Columbus Blue Jackets when they were under the direction of Scott Housen, their head coach for a year and a half exactly. Didn't have much success. Longtime NHL assistant coach and an American Hockey League head coach for a number of years as well.
Well, we know the input that Craig Heisinger, the assistant GM in Winnipeg that runs the Manitoba squad, has.
Stepping up is Cam Dineen. Longtime general manager Kevin Cheveldayoff. In fact, since the Jets returned for, as they once were termed, Jets 2.0.
And he worked for Stan Bowman, albeit only for a season. People forget that.
Connor Carrick to Cam Dineen. Now Carrick able to locate left-hand side. Rafa Lavoie, who scored on the power play to make it 2-1. It was quickly answered by Toninato. Middle of the ice, straight Kajula could not get free. Oilers 1 for 2 on the power play tonight. Winnipeg 0 for 1.
Dermott's looked good, Jack, as a guy on a PTO in the back end.
Sam O'Reilly had it knocked away. Kevin Hean from the left-hand side to drive from the point. A save made by goaltender Colin Delia. And the rebound lofted up ice by Ben Gleason. 6:20 to play in the third period. A steal by Cam Wright. A drop-off and a return, and Wright's one-timer grazed the pads of Eric Comrie on its way by and wide. He, the rebound up to Parker Ford and sent in deep. Back to get it. Brown, he thought he was held. Might have an argument. Zhilkin might have gotten away with one. Gleason, a spinning zone exit to center ice, and Cam Wright able to flick it inside the Winnipeg blue line as we approach 5.5 minutes left in regulation. Logan Stanley shoots it in. Lavoie after it for Edmonton. Lopinen couldn't get there for Winnipeg, and Josh Brown comes away with it for the Oilers. They'll return the puck to Gleason. And from center ice, Ben Gleason will dump it in. Gleason has played more than 350 American Hockey League games since getting a taste in the NHL with Dallas 6 years ago. Jets on a reset
never
here.
Say never. Remember the former Oiler that got...
I thought he was going to get a game last year. Remember, he traveled with the club for 3 or 4 weeks.
We had a guy last year to get in the lineup for Dallas that hadn't played in the NHL for about 4 or 5 years. That had played with the Oilers briefly.
Absolutely. Worked up the right-hand side and out.
Alex Petrovic.
Of course, a local product. Sent in right-hand side. Of course, when he was with the Oilers, grandfather was still alive, and we were told to call him Petrovich.
Yeah.
Up the right-hand side. Walton with a handoff and a shot deflected by Sautner. Rebound gathered by the Jets. Kept alive briefly by Anhorn, but the Oilers able to skate it out successfully to center. It's Noah Philp. Wrist shot off the rush. Rebound, and Philp denied on the doorstep by Comrie. His best save of the night.
Well,
Philp and Stefan set it up.
Philp made a great play in the neutral ice, and that created a 3-on-2, and they got 2 good cracks at it.
Stefan and then Philp on the rebound, robbed by Comrie with 4 minutes to play. And an offside whistled against the Jets, coming right to left with 3:56 to go in the third period. Eric Comrie, 24 saves tonight. None better than the denial of Noah Philp on the rebound moments ago. Still 2-2. Noted by a score of 3 minutes, 56 seconds to go in the third period. Game tied at 2. Action has picked up in the last 7 or 8 minutes. Winnipeg lost its preseason opener last night on home ice to Minnesota by a score of 5-2. Edmonton will be in action tomorrow, 7 o'clock against the Calgary Flames, and we expect a number of the Oiler elites to play. We'll have it for you On 630 CHED, the flagship home of the Oilers radio network, as well as 880. We're moving over to 880 full-time. Start of the regular season, October 9th, against these same Winnipeg Jets as the Oilers weave their way through the neutral zone. Josh Brown to Matt Savoy. Angled to the corner by Winnipeg goaltender Eric Conray, and it's released to Toninato, who moments ago tied this game after Lavoie had briefly given Edmonton a lead with a power play one-timer. Toninato back to the point. Salamanson, wrist shot right circle, and a save made by Colin Delia, who thus far has faced 10 shots and stopped 9. Rodriguez started the game. The plan all along was for them to split. Rodriguez, a 4-year veteran down in Bakersfield, was 143 games for the Condors.
Snarlock's got 2 right-handed centermen on the ice here because he's zoned off. Looks like change it up. One's going to take it, but he's going to move up there as well.
Phillips had a good night in the circle. 3 minutes to go. Third period, we're tied at 2. Shots 26-17 Edmonton. Phil, who just got stopped point-blank range by Comrie on a rebound, wins another face-off, muscles it back through center, shoveled back in by Ford, and now looking up ice, Carrick, and as he fired one through the middle, it went untouched, and that will be an icing call against the Oilers.
So Grube is a guy, he's 21. He's 3 years away, but there's something there with him, and I thought he looked better in Penticton this year. And it was
another Red Deer Rebel.
It was tough to tell, Jack, because the Oilers only had 1 drafted or signed defenseman play and a bunch of free agents.
In terms of getting the puck moved up to the forwards, they didn't play with the puck a lot in the opener, I know that.
And Vancouver had a very experienced team. And I fully expect a very different looking Edmonton team in the back end next year.
Those chances came in the Calgary game.
That was an entertaining game.
Off the draw, Jets working around the perimeter. Coughlin could not get a shot through traffic. And it's clear up the right-hand side. Nickel to Grube, and in deep behind the Winnipeg net. Comrie advances it through, left-hand side. Anderson Dolan streaking down the wing. Rasmus Kapart. Pair of former LA Kings on the ice. Walton engaged with Cam Dineen. Grube rolled it back over to Dineen, and it's easily punched forward and out by Cam Wright.
56, Nickel. This kid can skate, Jack. I know they got him late. Worth a swing, though. He can move his feet.
Logan Stanley spun away from the aforementioned Nickel, and now fired in by Sautner. Kajula rolled it across to Josh Brown up the middle for O'Reilly. He has one of the 2 Oiler goals tonight, and now Drake Kajula left wing, trapped in the corner. 100 seconds left in the preseason opener, breaking loose, shooting Lavoie, and that was denied by Connery. And the rebound came free to Janssen Fjallby. He's away. Tries to cut inside on Gleason. Guided to the corner by Delia. Centering past Torgerson. Intercepted by O'Reilly. Right spot. Good play there defensively.
Nice. He's a good 2-way player. He's got good instincts.
Now breaking loose for a moment, trying to untangle his stick was Lavoie. He had a good chance there. Stopped by Comrie, who's made a couple of nice saves here down the stretch, playing in his hometown. And again, the highlight of his NHL career was a 46-save masterpiece. Buffalo beat Edmonton a couple years ago in this building. And really, until last year, Sabres had the Oilers' number. Final minute, third period. Dump in by Winnipeg. Emerson reaches center, and now off to Mike Hoffman. He'll bump it down low. In the corner, Coughlin looks for a clear and gets some help from Toninato. Back to center, rifled in by Dermott. Around the boards, reaching forward is Hoffman. Angled off his stick by Logan Stanley. He'll shovel it up the glass. Did not get it out. Final 25 seconds. Hamblin under duress. 2 Jets draped all over him. Puck retrieved by Savoy. Blasted high and wide by Podkolzin. Rebound turned over. Shot by Carrick deflected. Stepping up Dineen. Final 10 seconds of regulation. Coughlin in a 2-2 tie up through center, a lunging Ford. Got a piece of it, but he was not yet at the red line. And so with 6 seconds remaining, we'll get one more attacking zone draw for Edmonton in regulation time. And then it'll be off to everyone's favorite in the preseason OT. I thought Chris Knobloch might pull the goaltender, but no. O'Reilly will take the draw against Toninato. Caggiula on his right, face-off win. Caggiula's pass off target. Carrick a shot deflected wide at the horn. And we will settle this one in extra time. It actually worked out well, but the pass from Caggiula across was slightly off target.
More time at the end of regulation.
Gustafson changes. Janssen Fjallby breaks loose, has a man, shoots himself, and a save made by Colin Delia. Toninato gives him a look as if to say, hey, I'm wide open in the right circle. I don't play a lot in overtime during the regular season either. Where's my feed? Janssen Fjallby elect to keep it himself, and Colin Delia able to make the save. And I think O'Reilly might have gotten back in time to disrupt a cross seamer.
That's the boy out. D-zone draws the right shot here with Olsen.
Against Toninato, who tied the game for Winnipeg in regulation. And he won the faceoff cleanly against Savoy. Cam Dineen is the third skater for Edmonton. Here's Toninato challenging Dineen. Dropping it off. Parker Ford, but Colson shadows him. Ford across. Coughlin. Ford, right circle. Coughlin among the leading goal scorers in the American Hockey League. But Colson, a big hit on Ford, and that creates a potential 2-on-1. Lays it in for Cam Dineen. Cuts to his left. Dineen loading up, shooting and scoring. And the Edmonton Oilers win their preseason opener 3-2 in overtime. And it starts with a Colson hit.
Finishing hit there, no question. He personally stopped the Winnipeg opportunity, and Dineen's always had some offensive instincts, and he's had a heck of a game tonight. Set up the Sam O'Reilly goal on a brilliant stretch pass, and the poise that he showed, and not a great goal against on Eric Comrie, be the first to tell you that, but nonetheless, victory for...
Enter English Canada, your battery is running low. Window close button. You might want to plug in your PC.
28-19. And they'll play a 3-2 overtime decision. Dineen from Colson at 117. And it's an assist on the sheet, and it's really an assist that'll show up in the hit column as well, as Colson extracted the puck, and as Bob termed it, a finishing hit in every sense of the word, as it ends up finishing the game. Dineen cuts to his left, drags the puck all the way across the slot, and beats Comrie from the left circle. And Bob, I think I'd agree with you, that one on a night where Comrie played pretty well, especially in the third period down the stretch, to take his team into OT. That's one he most certainly would like a return engagement on. Raphael Lavoie scored a power play goal tonight. He's with our Brendan Escott.